Hello and welcome to the Prospect Blueprint. This webcast is for prospects, coaches, and those who support those prospects so they best understand what it takes to get from one level to the other, what to embrace and what to avoid to get to whatever that next level might be. I'm Kelly Kleiman, and my battery mate as usual is Mr. Rick Dempsey, 24-year MLB vet and fan favorite with the Twins, Yankees, Brewers, my Indians, and of course the Baltimore Orioles, where in 1983 he was the World Series MVP. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. Anxious to get into Johnathan's head here a little bit, find out what's going on.
Yeah, he's got quite a bit going on actually. And our guest today is Johnathan Smith. If you are a member of the Showcase and College Baseball Facebook page, you've no doubt seen his posts. You may agree, you may disagree, but either way, he's in the trenches day after day on multiple levels. Here's his bio. 1990, drafted by the Phils, 9th round, did not sign. From 91 to 94, he played at Old Dominion with a 27-9 record. Not too shabby. Top 5 in starts, innings pitched, Ks, and other pitching categories. All CAA, 92 to 94. Pitcher of the Year CAA, 94. Sucked at pro ball, his own words. So they made him a pitching coach in the minor leagues. Not a bad gig. Left the game for 15 years and came back and now coaches a showcase level team. Are you still coaching that team?
Yep.
Still coaching him. And now at Wilson College, it's a D3. He is the pitching coach. Oh, by the way, they were 31-11 last year with 6 one-run losses. Eyes next year on the World Series. Johnathan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Rick. I want to tell you, I'm a Phillies fan. Not happy about 83, buddy.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that it still makes you mad because that shows me you got a lot of passion, which kind of it enables me to ask you this first question. You know, we've interviewed a lot of coaches lately so far. I mean, and I'm in love with college coaches now, more so than major league managers, because you guys have a lot of passion for the game of baseball, and that's what gets me excited about it. Now you're the pitching coach. You know, personally, tell me what drives you to work with these kids at this level.
Well, I have, as you said, I have a passion for the game, and when I came back into the game, I realized that the baseball IQ just wasn't where it was when we played. Just kids it's all about tournament baseball and maximum velo, and I see a lot more arm injuries than we had in years past. So I studied the new techniques of pitching and realized it's pretty much the same since 1876. And I figured I'd get back in the mix. And I'm a Tom House kind of guy, equal opposite, chest to glove, chest
get
to
that
knee.
Football out.
Yeah, exactly. So, stay behind the breaking ball, finish out front, safe throwing mechanisms. So I kind of got into it, when the kids were younger, and it came from a hobby to a source of income. So, and then now, obviously, as coaches don't make a whole lot of money. So I'm just doing it for the pure passion of the game at this point. But I love it. I love it. I love the kids, and I love teaching baseball. And again, these kids have a lot of passion. They're not all entitled brats, as we sometimes see on the posts on Facebook.
Are you comparing the way that you coach to this major league level now? I just do not cling to this analytical stuff that they're teaching, because I see too many guys falling off. And just what you said, they're not staying behind the ball. You're not getting the good quality pitching at the major league level I think they should have by that time.
Well, and you'll see, Rick, the trend's starting to change. You see the driveline guys are being fired or released, and they're going back to the bird, the sound of the game kind of scouting mechanisms in certain instances. But you could see, you watch a major league guy, most of them, they do get through the ball on the front side. That's why I try to explain to kids. They're the best players in the world, and their deliveries are not something to mimic in most cases, but most of them get their glove out away from their body, and most do finish on the front side. They do get out around with that leg. I don't know how they feel the ball when it comes back to them. I guess they don't.
No, they're so out of balance. You're right.
When you get drilled by 99 miles an hour back at you, you learn to protect yourself pretty quick on a comeback.
You're right.
Again, I wasn't very good in professional baseball. I can attest to that. But again, I think kids are willing to learn. If they're going to learn what's put in front of them. So if the coach in front of them is telling them to max out velo and not worry about location, that's what they're going to do. So I just try to incorporate both, have them pitch at maximum velocity with still control of their body and a safe throwing mechanism.
Johnathan, tell me a little bit about your travel teams. You know, how do you recruit it, and how do you choose the right tournaments to put them in?
Well, that's a great question, Rick. I mean, about 5 or 6 years ago, when I started really competing at this level, I had a pretty talented team. There's some guys in the SEC that are on that team now. I don't know if you heard of the Cole Wagner kid who's in the Little League World Series. We were like 51-7. I didn't do a whole lot for those kids. I mean, we won perfect game events, we won dynamic events, and we just didn't get a lot of fun in front of a lot of coaches. So, through research and talking to friends that were college coaches, other guys doing what I was doing, I tried to identify the events that coaches actually did attend, and we're out there trying to recruit that weren't just volunteer assistants, but actually decision makers or influencers in the scholarship process. And it ultimately came to the conclusion it's just easier to do it yourself. So tomorrow we're renting Mount St. Mary's University at 12 o'clock. Our 25s are playing our 24s. We have 15 coaches in attendance. 3 to 5 D1, 3 to 5 D2, 3 to 5 D2, and 2 or 3 JUCOs. We'll do BP, infield, outfield, play a game, rinse, repeat for the 23s. And we do this on random Wednesdays or Tuesdays throughout the course of the summer just to get our kids in front of coaches. And I found that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. We did John Novak does the show ball showcase, and he brings in head coaches and decision makers. And actually, my kids got their first D1 deal through that showcase, through the Cal State Fullerton coach who coached them on their showcase team. And he recommended to the Santa Clara guy that if you're going to rebuild, you got to rebuild with these guys. Well, we bounced out of there, after a year. We were redshirted. You got to get reps. COVID shut them down. But that was a good showcase. That's one that I could definitely give my stamp of approval on because it's all head coaches. And they did another one in Bradenton, Florida, and they were approached again by some other coaches, except my kids they have to listen to that 4-2-4 rule. So if you started off at a D1, you got to do 2 years in a JUCO, and then you could go to another 4-year school. But it's like there's more stringent rules in JUCO than there is in D1 at this point.
Yeah, the whole dynamics changed. The portals changed the game immensely for these high school kids too. So you got to try to identify or do you want to be on the team or do you want to play college baseball? And that's kind of what I asked my kids. And today, I mean, we couldn't stack academic and athletic money, and today you can. So if these kids go out and get a high SAT and high GPA, they can go to school for next to nothing, whether they get on the field or not. And I tell them to choose the school you want to attend and worry about baseball secondary.
Yeah. Here's a fun question for you. Let's chat about the challenges of coaching a competitive travel team. Been there, kind of done it. First and foremost, which element is the most challenging to deal with it? Is it parents or opposing coaches?
Parents, for the most part. I'm pretty even killed when it comes to opposing coaches, even if they're, a rile them up type coach. It doesn't really impact our game that much. It's the parents on our team or the parents on our team. The biggest thing that frustrates me is the kids yapping. It's never really, I don't remember it that much in college and pro ball. I mean, hey, there's a fight at the bat rack, things like that, but not verbal assault, what these kids are doing today. And I think it's more men's league than it is high school baseball. It's just disappointing to me because it doesn't play at the next level. Well, I guess it depends on the coach, really. But, you see there's a couple college programs that embrace it. Most do not. But that's the most frustrating thing for me. It's the kids, assaulting each other verbally. And I say to my players, hey, that could be your teammate next year in college or your teammate 5 years in pro ball. You're making an enemy of a would-be teammate. And it doesn't make any sense to me. That's just my 2 cents, though. Kelly, I'm not always right.
I think you are right, though, Coach, because I've been to a lot of high school games over the last couple of seasons, and I see the way they act during the course of the game, and it just amazes me that somebody doesn't get drilled. I know at the major league level, if you get half of that hawking going on during the game, somebody's going down at some place, but they just, I don't know, things are changing and the coaches let them get away with it down at that level. So you don't have a lot of good things to look forward to.
Well, just to piggyback off that, Rick, I mean, you made a point about it. Like, if you're saying, I'm trying to rattle this kid, you're trying to rattle a kid that those 96 miles an hour at 16 years old, who doesn't know where it's going. What if he does crack your kid in the rib by accident because you did your job? Now your son's career's over. That's just, think about that. Hey, you might have won that game, but at what expense?
Let's talk about anecdotes. I have a ton of amazing stories of bad dads. Unbelievable stories about bad dads. Do you have any? Share one or two with us. No names.
Well, there's a dad that I mean, I guess I'm not sure if he played or I'm pretty sure he played semi-pro. I always asked if he got semi-paid, but he would go every tournament last year. He would go around to every single parent, second guessing every move I made, tell him I would never bench your son in that situation. I mean, just and ultimately, I mean, clearly he's not with the program anymore. But I think the biggest mistake I made was not letting the dugout. I felt like at this level we shouldn't have any dads in the dugout. I don't want the decision to be made by a father based on the parental instincts, not baseball instincts. But it just was frustrating because I like the kid a lot. I mean, I don't deal with parents a lot. I deal with the kids. Actually, last summer, I don't even know if I knew what parent belonged to what kid until the middle of the season. I knew that these are my players. They're 16, 17 years old, and I'm coaching them. And parents, they read the emails. That's about it.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating.
I was just going to say I was the guy who was behind the backstop telling my kid, hands up, hands down, step forward. I was that guy. I'm until I started running my own travel team, basically.
When I would do pitching lessons, if you're that guy, I'd be like, hey man, I'll just sit in the bucket and collect my $50. You can coach your kid all you want.
Right. I learned to shut up though. Go on, Rick.
Okay. Well, Coach, how do you measure the expectations of each of these kids? Getting back to them right here at this point, do you have requirements for them and standards for the level of play? Once they want to come to Wilson, how do you stand on that?
Well, first and foremost, we try to identify kids that are going to be academically sound. I know it's D3, but due to the COVID restrictions and just getting started, we only played 44 games last year, but we're going to play 50 games in 57 days. So it's you have to be pretty academically sound to compete at college baseball. So we make sure that end's taken care of, and we're not going to have any issues from that standpoint. As far as from a pitching standpoint, I don't earmark velocity as a goal. Well, first of all, as you know, man, it's all recorded out of hand now. So kind of what we saw as velocity isn't what it is today. So you see kids in D3 throwing 90, 91 miles an hour just because it's recorded out of the hand. So I don't really look at velocity. I look at control, location, secondary pitches. Can you attack the zone? You put the ball in play. Again, nobody cares what I did 30 years ago. I walked 11 guys my senior year in 135 innings. I was putting the ball in play. I was probably the worst pitcher on the staff, but I put the ball in play. That's why I was able to start so many games. And so I'm looking for that type of player because obviously the 97, 98 dynamic kid, they're not coming to Wilson. So we're trying to earmark the kids that want to play at the next level, that want to compete, that want to go to World Series. We have a lot of D2, D1 portal guys at this moment. We have a kid from my alma mater, Old Dominion, that's our catcher. We have a couple of kids from Fairfield, and they got to their level, realized, man, I can't get on the field here. I might as well go play and compete, play college baseball. So I'm looking for guys that love the game. You really got to love the game to want to practice 60 hours a week, go to school. And mind you, we're 80% girls, kids out there, 80% female. So you have to be focused on your sport and be ready to compete at all times. I think that's what we're looking for. That's some, Rick, you played at high level for a long time. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the intangible you can't coach.
You do. Well, I did. I had that kind of passion from the time I was 8 years old. I would have played it sun up to sundown.
And 90% of the time, those are the guys that succeed. If you know what I'm talking about.
At 145 pounds when I signed, I told my mom, don't change the furniture around in his room because he'll be back, no doubt, in 6 weeks. 27 years later, I retired, and I still didn't come back. But Coach, let's go back to a few of the questions that I had. You mentioned you were D3. Okay, that's all right. And the portal. Are you for the portal or against the portal at Wilson? Does it help you or not?
Well, it helps. It does help us. It's helped us immensely. It's helped us compete. Our program's 5 years old. It's helped us compete right away. Now we're fortunate. The head coach is a professional baseball player like myself, so we have that experience and that level of competition behind us. It helps from a recruiting standpoint. But me personally, I'm not a fan. I think it's I don't know, it's like a get out of jail free card, but but for our school, it's been a plus for us. We were able to get some pretty high talent players relatively quickly, build a program as a result of it, while still developing the high school kids, but not having to rush them on the field, if that makes sense. So we look for freshmen to compete right away. I mean, we're bringing in 10 freshmen. I'm hoping 6 of them are our starting lineup. And we're not looking for the portal to fill any gaps. I mean, if a kid comes our way, then we're going to take a look and evaluate them. But it's been helpful to us, but it's not a part of our path moving forward, if that makes sense. All right, now I got to go. I'll be right back, boys.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to ask him, how does he prepare his travel team for the next level? Because it's different. And we've had those conversations with some of the coaches who say the travel ball showcase model doesn't prepare them for the next level. Well, I think he might be an exception to the rule. So we'll find out.
Yeah. Hey, what is a money grab?
Just guys looking for money. Yeah, we'll put together a showcase. We'll get a bunch of assistant coaches out there, charge 150, get 100 kids, make yourself a quick 11 grand or whatever.
Yeah,
that would be it.
For those individual showcases.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that right now, actually.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Rick, man, you're on fire, by the way. Thank you.
What's that?
Making an old goat feel right at home here.
So, okay, hold on. Let me get to okay, yeah. So we've talked to a lot of coaches over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of them are relatively dissatisfied with the travel ball model, and certainly showcases taking up all summer long. How do you prepare your travel team for life in college baseball?
Oh, that's a great question. It's difficult to do because, the higher a team you achieve, the further away the kids become from each other. When I coached the kids from about 5 or 6 zip codes here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, we were able to beat and compete with just about anybody because we practiced 3-4 times a week. We worked on first and thirds. We worked on picks. We worked on rundowns. Just don't have that time and flexibility anymore. I try to prepare them by just simply telling them, look, you're going to be practicing 7 hours a day, and you got to be ready to play baseball. You got to get foul balls. I swear I'm probably the only travel coach that signs numbers to foul balls because that's what's going to happen next year when you're in college. From the standpoint of, from an academic standpoint, I try to tell them, I always ask them about their grades. The most exciting time for me, Kelly, is when one of my players sprints up to me to tell me his SAT score. That's when I get excited, or his GPA, because that's ultimately what's going to help them in life. Most guys aren't going to play like Rick. Most guys aren't even going to get a chance like I did. So we got to prepare them for life more so than baseball. And that's what I think every player can tell you about his best coach or favorite coach is that, he prepared me to be a human being as more than a baseball player. And that's what I really try to do. Whether I'm successful or not, that's to be determined, I guess.
Last question on my end over here before I hand it over to Mr. Rick Dempsey. If you had a young son, and you actually do have a son, don't you?
Yeah. He's a primary tank in Overwatch.
What's that?
He plays video games.
Oh, okay. Well, if you had a son who was interested in baseball, how would you guide him through his amateur career from level to level? Would you have him play Little League, Pony? Would you have him in travel ball? And then the next part of that question is, Rick's going to ask it about the parents and giving them advice.
My son didn't really have a passion for the game, but I would have him play recreational baseball. All my players, I suggest they play Legion or Teeners or whatever recreational balls around. I mean, where else you can get 12 to 15 at bats during the week? Now, again, as you progress to these levels at 16, 17, the events start a little earlier. Thursdays and Wednesdays, they bleed your hotel money dry, but still play Legion. I mean, our Legion team around here went to the World Series last year. Our guys here throw 85 to 90 in Legion. So why wouldn't you go face that? Play men's league with the adults. Guys that are in college that didn't play in college league or former pros that are still playing. I suggest they play that. And I did. I mean, if you look at the guys that were successful in my area, most of them played rec ball. So I chuckle when people tell me their kids are too good for rec. Or now the new thing, Rick, is they're too good for high school. You're freaking kidding me. So your ERA 0.00, you're batting 1,000, then you're too good for high school. I haven't seen those stat lines yet, so I'm waiting to see those.
Yeah.
Coach, when you do have to deal with a lot of, I know it can get frustrating at times when they know their son wants to play baseball and wants to go play professional baseball. How do you advise them on what to embrace, what to avoid? What about the money grabs? Is that a good thing for the kids, and the beneficial experiences that they could possibly get through your advice?
Well, I mean, one thing that's funny, I just did a pitching lesson, and one of the kids called for me, and he's a freshman at the high school that my kids go to, or my son does now. My daughter's in college, and where I help coach. And I said, look, I'm never going to lie to you. I'm never going to lie to your kids. Don't go to a Vanderbilt camp if you're not going to play at Vanderbilt. Now, granted, there's going to be 25, 30 coaches at all levels there, but you have to be honest with yourself. Again, I have no problem if a dream school is your dream school and you just want to go on campus and play, you have to be realistic with your talent level. Are you in the top 5% in your zip code? Are you in the top 5% of your state? Are you in the top 5% of your region? Those are things you got to start identifying. And right now with the data collection, it's pretty easy to do that, from whether it's velocity or, I don't know, extra velocity can be achieved by hitting a hard ground ball, freaking L screen too. But there's certain metrics that are out there that are easily attained, and you can kind of see where you sit. And again, if the dad says, well, my kid, he's just a baseball player. Well, you know what? He still's got to be able to throw the ball, hit the ball, and run. If you're throwing 64 and you're getting guys out, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to do that at the next level. Or if you're hitting P rods off of kids throwing 74 miles an hour, you're going to do it off 90. And I think that's where the high level travel really does come in. I mean, that's why the coaches go there. I don't blame them. There are some venues out there that a lot of these volunteer assistants can make some money at, but for the most part, I mean, if they're going to Georgia or Florida or one of these big events in Maryland or DC or New York, 30, 40 coaches are going to come to watch 40 kids they might want to recruit, as opposed to go to a high school game, they might see 4 kids they want to recruit. So the law of averages helps the coaches identify more players. And I look at it, some of the payment more as a reimbursement. I mean, I had to drive to Philadelphia. I had to get a hotel. I had to buy food. I had to buy gas. So getting $250 that day really wasn't like I was getting paid. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. So some of the compensation isn't all like, oh, we're paying these coaches to be here. And that's the only reason they're here. We go to recruit kids. The payment is a nice to have because we're not getting paid. We don't have any recruiting budget per se. Even at the D1 level, there's very little recruiting budget anymore. It's a non-revenue sport. It always has been. And that's why I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw my own 2 cents in here. You see a lot of these guys talking about raising the scholarships. 50% of Division I doesn't even fund 11.7 scholarships. So making that number higher isn't going to make the game exponentially better. It's not going to change the dynamic. The rich are going to get rich. The schools that are funding 11.7 are going to fund 18. Schools that are funding 5 are going to fund 5. That's not going to change. But again, that's the world we live in. So that's my 2 cents on that note.
Yeah, the NIL might change that around a little bit, and you might have 35 on scholarship. And
correct. You get an national alumni that like, again, hey, just Justin Verlander wants to come fill $1 million at Old Dominion. I'd be more than happy, to take that if I was a kid.
Right. Sure, that's what's going on. Okay, we're running out of time here, but real quick, there's a proliferation of college advisors out there. So, some have good contacts, some maybe not, but it seems as though it's an industry that's taking off. What's your take on it?
There's some good guys out there. There's a lot that aren't. There's a lot of these bigger companies that are taking advantage of parents and again, in all sports, not just baseball. I mean, actually, it's probably more prevalent in the high scholarship sports like basketball and football. They'll tell you, oh, we'll get your kid a scholarship. Put it this way, I never got any kid a scholarship, not once. They earned that. They earned that money. If I call Rick Dempsey up and he knows a guy from USC and I get a kid to look there, Rick and I didn't do anything. That kid earned a spot at USC. But there's good guys out there, and I don't want to name names that are, we don't want to promote for them, but like there's guys out there that do. They know they're doing it for the right reason. They're doing it to help kids, and there's a lot of guys out there that doing it to make a living. And I guess I'd be okay with that if they were just honest with the kids and parents. I think the snow job is really what I got an issue with. You're making promises you just can't keep. And again, if I tell everybody, if somebody's promising you something, they're lying to you, because that's not, especially in this sport, when 25% is usually the maximum you're getting, unless you're a pitcher. And that's another thing. They're telling these kids that you're not getting more than 25%. Well, guess what? I got a lot of pitchers getting 70, 80, 90%. So that's still out there. That's still a thing.
Yeah.
But again, the good guys out there, and we have a couple on our page that know what the heck they're doing. And some of them weren't. I mean, one we promoted, as I'm sure you know, and he disappeared with a lot of people's money. So, I mean, it's a slimy industry, I guess. And it's, I don't know, I'm stammering now because it's frustrating for me, because we're right there in the mix of this, Kelly, as you know.
Yeah.
You went through it with your son, and I'm going through it with all the kids I coach. So it's kind of a tough situation out there.
Yeah. Rick, you're our catcher and you're our closer. We've got 4 minutes. Parting words, sir?
Well, I was going to tell him, I was going to pick up that story you were telling about the travel team that I was with, Pony League Baseball, and our thing. We were a pretty good ball club. I was the last guy to be voted onto that team. We won 12 tournaments on the West Coast, and the manager of our team, along with another accomplice that we never did see, they robbed a bank in every city that we played an all-star tournament in. We went to Washington, Jefferson, Pennsylvania for the World Series, Pony League World Series. They robbed their 13th and final bank there. We ended up losing a double elimination tournament. We flew back to California, and so did the FBI. And they go to the guy, our manager's office, and they count him catching the money from his last bank robbery on the test. So he went to prison, and we all went home from that season. But what an incredible, they were a famous bank robbing duo in Los Angeles called the Mutt and Jeff Bank Robbers. They named them after a character in the LA Times comics department. So he died in prison of tongue cancer, but at least he got an opportunity to see me win the MVP of the 1983 World Series. So that was one good thing.
You really brought that up again. Thanks, Rick.
Well,
crickets.
Coach Smith, thank
that's
you.
all right. We beat a bunch of your boys. It was time for them to retire. And Joe Morgan, he pissed me off because I played in a lot of playoff games and a lot of World Series games three times. And Joe Morgan was the only person to ever steal a base. And if we'd have had that instant replay, I'd have been a clean slate. It was bang, bang, but he should have been out.
Can I ask you a quick question before we leave? What's it like
Sure.
facing Steve Carlton?
What about him?
Carlton. I'm a Steve Carlton fan, lefty. How was it like
Lefty,
facing him?
Lefty was awesome. I mean, he had the good mechanics, and they had 4 good pitches: fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, and he worked the plate. You could tell he had it. But you know what? He was past his time. He shouldn't have been there in that. I mean, he did okay with the all-star team he had behind him to work, but for that World Series, it wasn't the same Steve Carlton that we saw pitch every single game of his career. He was so nasty with that slider down and in. He was an awesome pitcher. I felt bad for him, but you know what? We all come to the end of the line, and that was it for him.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Rick. I appreciate that, man. And Kelly, thanks for inviting me. I hope it helped some people out there. I certainly learned a lot today.
Well, it was a pleasure. Then there's the Lenny Dykstra story, but we've only got about a minute to go. So I think he was with the Phillies. Wasn't it with the Phillies when you got in that scrap with him, Rick?
I know now why he got that nickname Nails. He came up to home plate. He was leading the league in hitting. I was catching for the Los Angeles Dodgers late in my career. He was mad because he said I framed a pitch, but the pitch was a whole lot better than that. It was called strike 3, and he was mad at the umpire. So he came up his next at bat, screaming at the umpire, telling him that old asshole behind home plate was brown nosing you, and he got me called out and all that. And I just looked at him. I said, "Are you talking to me?" And he backed up a little bit, because you can go on one of the websites, whatever you want, and you can find the replay of Dykstra and Dempsey at Dodger Stadium. I stood up and I told him when he dropped that bat, I knew he was coming. So I did a left hook to the jaw, and that was the only punch in the fight. We got at the bottom, everybody piles on in all these baseball fights, and he started scratching me with his fingers. So I know how he got that name Nails now. He couldn't hit me, but he could scratch me, and that was it.
All right, boys. That's all the time we get. That was a great story. That he's the closer, of course. Outstanding.
Unbelievable.
Coach Smith.
Hey, Coach, great talking to you, man. I want to meet you sometime down the road.
Let's play golf. You got it, buddy.
Oh, we got to play golf.
I'm a sloppy 7 handicap right now. 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay, we can play even.
All right, boys.
Oh, you're fine. You think it's a +1.
You have each other's email. You can set aside.
All right, boys.
My handicap will be below getting down there. My last 4 games have all been in the mid-70s on a very, very tough course.
Uh-oh.